Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports with me, Coach Ryan D. Let's talk about this Tampa Bay Lightning cap controversy. Stick around with me to the end of the video. I'm going to give you the history of what happened, why we got where we're at, and then we're going to stick around and we're going to really start facing the root cause as to why so many people are fired up about this cap situation. And I think it has to do with, well, follow us through the intro. Stick around to the end of the video.
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux.
Okay, so the NHL salary cap, in short, and I'm not a cap expert, but in short, you must be cap compliant to the NHL salary cap throughout the regular season, and the playoffs doesn't count. That's the simple version of the NHL salary cap. There's also this little clause in the salary cap called LTIR, long-term injury reserve. On the long-term injury reserve list, if a player gets injured, like Nikita Kucherov did, where he requires a lengthy period of time off or away from the game, his contract will not count against the salary cap. This was agreed upon by all NHL GMs and is a pragmatic way to deal in a salary cap world with injuries to allow a team to compete. So the Tampa Bay Lightning played without Steven Stamkos for part of the year, without Nikita Kucherov for the entire year, and they were able to acquire, Savard, the number one trade deadline acquisition at the deadline, because they had additional cap space. And then magically for game one of the playoffs, both Kucherov and Stamkos returned, and here we are, $17 million over the cap, one carrying an 8.5, one carrying a 9.5. So more people are concerned about the Nikita Kucherov injury because when players are magically ready for game one, they think there's some dastardly deeds that went on. And this happened in 2015-16 when Patrick Kane ended up injured heading into the playoffs. The Chicago Blackhawks were also able to acquire key players at the trade deadline. And then Patrick Kane was magically ready to go for game one of the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. And who did they beat in the finals? The Tampa Bay Lightning. What did the Tampa Bay Lightning do? They tried to close the loophole through the NHL by saying you should be cap compliant through the regular season and the playoffs. Remember, you don't have to be cap compliant in the playoffs. There's no salary cap for there. Nobody supported them except the St. Louis Blues. So that meant the rest of the NHL general managers didn't see this as a big idea. Now, there's a business argument to be made about this. Fans hate business. Like, seriously, let me know below how you feel about the business of sport, because fans see this as more like a religion or a purity, the competition of sport. They want things in an unfair world to be fair. Am I right? You let me know how you feel down below, but the truth of the matter is the NHL is a business and they operate as a business, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are a business within a business. All right. So we're not going to stick to the fact that this is just business, but I am going to take half a second to tell you, please subscribe, join us on this channel. We've been growing like gangbusters here at Hot Garbage Sports. We would love to have you on for the ride. And speaking of businesses, if you'd like to start your own YouTube channel, check out Adobe Creative Cloud. I use it myself all the time. I pay for it. It is a fantastic service. I am self-taught, no courses needed. Just checked out a couple wicked YouTube videos, learned how to use it, got online, met all of you. Been a fantastic skill for me to acquire. Link is down below in the description, along with links for things like my gear, my microphone, my monitors, even my hat is down there if you want to check it out. All right, back to the cap situation and moral outrage, not just business outrage. So the business of the NHL is simple. You need to win and you need to draw fans and clicks, right? So it's not just a media world in terms of TV, but it is a clickbait world these days as well. Two, this cap situation has only done good for the Tampa Bay Lightning in terms of drawing eyes to them. It's done bad in the sense that fans feel really salty, slighted, and that something unfair is going on. And frankly, you are justified in feeling that way. Nobody can tell you how to feel. So the business of the sport is Tampa Bay said, this is a loophole, close it. They lost the Stanley Cup final because of it, or at least they think because of it. They tried to close it. Nobody supported them. And now they have used it themselves on the road to a Stanley Cup final and maybe even another Stanley Cup. All right, fair. People don't see it that way though. They have short memory spans. A lot of fans are just jumping on this story now. They don't remember the Blackhawks. They don't remember what's going on with it. And people just want consistency because they just go, NHL, why wouldn't you be cap compliant the entire way through? And that's a great question. One I don't have the answer to, but you are okay to feel morally outraged that this is a stupid loophole to even have open in the first place. But apparently the GMs don't think so because it's been addressed several times and they don't want to change it. But morally, fans want to see their sports sports being fair and they want to see all things being equal. It's never going to happen that way. It's not the way life works, but you're justified in thinking so. So fans around the NHL are looking at Tampa Bay, I think, in two ways. One, you better win the cup. If you don't win the cup, like, what more did you need, right? And if you do win the cup, they're going to put an asterisk behind your cup. Tampa Bay fans could care less. They lost their cup in 2015. Sure, they got a cup now. But again, don't hate the player, hate the game. This happened to them. Now they're instituting it. It's just good management. A lot of people are going to believe this is just good management. If you're on that side, again, nothing wrong with being there. You're probably a Lightning fan and there's nothing wrong with that. And if you're not, probably a pretty good business person as well too, because that is where my sentiment lies. If you try to close something and do something and nobody else wants to listen to you, you may as well take advantage of it. They're not stealing food out of dying children's mouths. They're not bombing a country. There's nothing crazily wrong here. I know we all love sports, but this is just a business at the end of the day, and the Tampa Bay are doing business things. Sucks for the Montreal Canadiens and any other team that has fallen or may fall to the Tampa Bay Lightning because of this situation, but it's just the way it goes, isn't it? So morally, fans, I think we all have to start looking at certain things. We think we are the customers of this league, and we are. We're the consumers. The NHL is growing at a slower rate than any other league. We know this. They are getting less clicks than anybody else right now, and they're in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The NHL's stagnant growth is really only a fault of its own. Yes, they're growing, but definitely not like the other sports are, because they always have to make things so freaking complex and weird. All I have to do is point you to the refereeing controversy through these playoffs this year, and referee Chris Lee and how rules instituted, or the Mark Scheifele suspension, or, over suspension, or the Matt Barzal no suspension, or like it just doesn't end. The NHL loves to wrap themselves up in these storylines, and it gets them clicks, but I don't think it gets them the right growth. But fans, we need to check ourselves at the door and realize that until we turn off the TV, the NHL really isn't going to listen. The players and the general managers have actively made decisions like this. This happens to be a general manager's decision. We know Dougie Hamilton was pissed off about the cap circumvention. We know every team that likely loses to Tampa Bay is pissed off about it, just like the fans. We know the fans, for the most part, are likely pissed off about this, and nobody understands why this loophole exists in a world that should be fair, but it does. And the NHL general managers have had opportunities to close it. They don't. They're not listening. They don't care. They just don't. This is the world we choose to cheer for. So when you put your heart, your soul, your sweat, your tears, and your identity into a team, be careful. It can come back to bite you. The NHL and North American sports as a whole just do not operate like European Premier League soccer or anything overseas, where fans can switch an entire league, what up Super League, on its head in 2 days from billionaires. We just don't seem to have that kind of collective power here in North America to these owners and these general managers. It's a tough reality, but it sucks. So now you have a little bit of an understanding as to what's been happening with this cap controversy. I understand if you have the sentiment where you say you think they're cheating. I understand if you have the sentiment where you say this is just good business. I understand if you're a Habs fan. I understand if you're a Lightning fan. I understand if you're a biased fan like me with the Jets or any other NHL team out there. So that is the very quick summary of the Tampa Bay Lightning salary cap situation and business as it is. So let me know your thoughts down below. This has been Coach Ryan D.